everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a book haul for you that is going to be all over the place. I've got a couple packages to open from you guys, and I recently took another trip to Second and Charles, which means I came home with an odd assortment of books. So let's just jump into the books. So the first book I have to show you guys is a book that I just got sent from Berkeley, which is so much appreciated, and if you guys are like me and you've binged Bridgerton like 6 times in a row because you can't stop, but you're not a huge historical romance reader and you don't really know where to start, Berkeley is releasing a lot of these type of books that just have like the cute illustrated covers that don't seem nearly as intimidating as getting into the endless backlist of famous historical romance authors. This is A Lady's Formula for Love by Elizabeth Everett, and first of all, this cover is adorable. This mainly drew me in because it's historical, it's like Regency London, but it follows Lady Violet Hughes, who founded a clandestine sanctuary for England's most brilliant female scientists. That was a selling point for me. I personally have never been super into historical romance just because I feel like there isn't much of a plot outside of the dynamics of the characters, which is fine. I'm a character-driven reader, so that's okay for me, but I like having kind of like an interesting plot point. So if we're following a really smart lady in STEM in historical romance, heck yes. So we're following Lady Violet Hughes, and she is using her genius on a confidential mission for the crown, but then she starts to have feelings for her protection officer. That's a fun trope, right? So we're following her and her relationship with Officer Arthur Neeland and their romance, and it sounds cute. I mainly was suckered in with the female scientist and that she runs a sanctuary for female scientists. Sign me up for that, right? So I'm very excited to get to this. I feel like it's going to be a really good, like, February read. It's Valentine's Day. Look how cute this cover is. So thank you so much to Berkeley for sending this my way. The next book is a book that I totally picked up on a whim when I was in Target the other day, which I don't do very often. I purposely just put blinders on as I'm walking by the book section because Target for some reason just like puts books out that I don't know anything about, and that's an issue for me. I feel like I have a fairly good grasp of releases that are coming out that everybody's talking about, and then Target will be like, yeah, you know all of these, but what about this one? And that's this book that I bought. This is Good Morning Midnight by Lily Brooks Dalton, and I was initially drawn into this because it reminded me of the cover of Station 11, which is one of my favorite books. And it's kind of giving me Station 11 vibes, but less apocalyptic and more sci-fi. And it also has this little thing on the cover that's not a sticker that I can remove, which we're not going to discuss that. But it's inspiration for the Netflix film The Midnight Sky, which I've also not heard of. Is this, where am I? I'm under a rock. So this follows 2 characters. We're following Augustine, who is a brilliant and aging astronomer who refuses to evacuate his remote research post when catastrophe arrives. And he is there with a mysterious child who is left behind with him during this evacuation. So he's up in the Arctic Circle, not with anybody except this mysterious child, and I don't know what the catastrophe is, but something's happening. So we're following him. And then we are also following a mission specialist, Sullivan, who is on a long return flight from Jupiter. And so she's coming home from, you know, outer space, and mission control falls silent, so they have to try and figure out how to get home and land with no mission control. So that sounds terrifying. And as their stories gradually intertwine, Augustine and Sully each confront uncertain futures and question the regrets and sacrifices that have defined their lives, until the profound and unexpected conclusion when a powerful answer is offered. This is the most vague but intriguing synopsis I've read in a book in a really long time, and it's very short. Like, this is not a long book. This is only 250 pages, and that sounds like there's a lot packed into here, and I had never heard of it. Who am I? So if you've read this, let me know. It just sounded great. So I bought it at Target. I did one of those things where I was like, what is that? And then it ended up in my cart, and now I have it in my house. Okay, let's get to my Second and Charles haul. First few books I searched for. I usually go in with kind of a list of books that I would like to keep my eye out on, and I can usually find like 2 of them, and then I just wander for like an hour or 2 and end up with a stack. So this is my stack. So the first book is a book that we are reading for the Page Turners Book Club in March. So this is going to be the romance book, and that is Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This is the first in the Fever series, which I have never read. And I feel like this series is one of the OG paranormal romance or urban fantasy romance, paranormal. I still am kind of fairly new to this part of the romance world. But in my mind, this series is up there with like Kim Harrison and J.R. Ward and just like the original paranormal romance authors that have been around for like years, and their series are like in the 20s or 30s at this point. This is book 1, and all that I know about this is that it's fae and it takes place in Ireland and our main character is a badass. That's all I know, and I think that's all I'm gonna go in knowing. I know her name is Mac. She is a person who can see fae. That's all I know. That's literally all I'm gonna go in knowing, and I'm very excited to experience this for the first time. So if you have any interest in reading along with me, this will be taking place in the 3rd week of March, 4th week of March. I have to look at my schedule. But you got time to get a copy if you've ever wanted to read this book. We're reading it together. And the other book that we're reading in March, y'all came through and I asked you guys to go and vote for this because I really want to read this in March, is The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. I am so excited to read nonfiction with you guys. Like, I'm so pumped. March is Women's History Month, and that's what I was trying to include in the poll. So I basically picked a whole bunch of just really cool women authors about cool women. That's how that one got voted in, because I was looking for like powerful female leads, and apparently Mac is just that. This is nonfiction about women in history, so I feel like this is very fitting. So one, thank you guys for going and voting for this, because I was pumped for this to win. I know very little about this subject matter. This is following women in, I believe, World War I time era, and this is right when radium was discovered, and radium is used in so many things back then before they realized how damaging it is. And this is following a group of women who are working essentially in a factory, and I think they're painting clock faces, and all of the horrible side effects that start happening to them, and just basically what radium poisoning did to women who were in the working force back then, and how terrifying it was, but how strong this group of women was. English is hard. There's pictures of these badass women in the middle of the book. I'm super pumped. I already have it tabbed up for the reading sections. So if you have any interest in reading along with us, we're going to be reading this in March as well. And I was so pumped. I found this on clearance for $4.50. I was so excited to find a copy of this. The next 2 books are books that I'm not gonna lie, I am very pleased that I finally got copies of. And that is Gabriels Inferno and Gabriels Rapture by Sylvain Reynard. This is books 1 and 2 of this trilogy. They did not have book 3, otherwise I would have gotten it, because I have a feeling I'm gonna binge through this. So, you know how I was talking about like OG paranormal romance authors? I feel like this is an OG just romance reader series. Whenever you see those lists of like, check off all the books you've read as a romance reader, Gabriel's Inferno is always on it. And I've always wanted to read it. I know that it is one of the original slow burn romances. It's one of like the original like erotica type stories to come onto the market. I'm just so pumped to read this. I know very little about it. It follows a professor who is a well-respected Dante specialist by day, hence Inferno. I'm pumped about that. But by night, he devotes himself to an uninhibited life of pleasure. So it follows him in his relationship with a graduate student who ends up in his class. So this is book 1, this is book 2. They had these 2 for like $5 a piece, so I finally picked up used copies of these so that I can finally read them. I already started it, I'm only like 2 chapters in, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited to finally read these. As a romance reader, I feel like this is one that I should just have on my resume at this point, so I'm doing it. Okay, this next book, if you guys have been watching me for the past like year, you know that I've gotten into manga. And every time I go to Second and Charles and I have a ton of store credit built up, I always try to pick up volume 1 of a new manga series to try, just because I'm so new to it. There are so many series out there. I know next to nothing about all of them, so I just kind of go in and I always try to buy either the next couple volumes of one that I'm already working on, or one that's recommended to me, or just one that it calls out to me. And this time, this one called out to me. I was apparently feeling very cutesy, very shoujo. So this is Shortcake, Volume 1. and it just sounds adorable. It sounds so stinking cute. It sounds like a very similar storyline to a lot of others that I have either started or heard about or been recommended. It follows a girl who has a long commute through the mountains to get to her high school, so instead of doing that commute every day, she moves into a local boarding house that has a bunch of cute boys in it. So that's a story that I am interested in, and it looks cute. The art style is very simple and very cutesy, and I'm a big fan. Like, it looks adorable. So if you read this, will I like it? Probably. I don't know. I think shoujo is just kind of my comfort area when I'm just kind of looking for stuff that I don't know anything about. It just seems to be what I gravitate towards. So I picked up volume 1 of this and I'm very excited. It looks adorable. Okay, and going in a completely different direction from like super cutesy manga, I got a copy of The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon? I don't know how to say that. I'm pretty sure it's McMahon. And this is a book that I remember seeing when it came out. When did this get published? 2014. I remember seeing this when it came out then, and I remember seeing a lot of people reading it and me being like, I should pick that up, and then it just fell into the recesses of my mind. And now it's starting to gain traction again, partially on BookTube, but also because I recently started looking up just random lists of books that I might be interested in. I was looking up lists of books to read in the wintertime, and this is one that keeps showing up. Obviously, it's got winter in the title, but also it's horror, and I like reading horror recently. That's a thing that I've been really into, so this sounds great. And then out of nowhere, I started seeing a whole bunch of booktubers reading this also, so apparently it's just having a resurgence in popularity, so I'm contributing to that now. This sounds stellar. Like, this sounds exactly like what I want to read. There's a 1.5 feet of snow on the ground outside right now, so I feel like I should pick up a book that feels very snowy. So I believe this is a dual timeline story that takes place in like a small town up in Vermont, and I believe it follows Sarah, who in 1908 was found dead in the field behind her house just months after the tragic death of her daughter. And then it's also taking place in present day when we're following a 19-year-old who lives in her farmhouse with her family who are trying to live off grid, and how she gets kind of wrapped into this story that happened on this property like 100 years ago. And from what I've heard, it's super haunting. It's terrifying. I feel like it's going to be very atmospheric for this time of year. So I am probably going to pick this up really, really soon. If you guys have read this, let me know what you think. So far, I've seen nothing but good stuff about it. So I think I'm ready to like have my pants scared off by reading this, and I'm so ready for it. And while I'm on the wintry kick, this is another book that shows up on a lot of lists, but it's also a book that I feel like has shown up in my life a lot, and I finally just bought a copy, and I'm gonna try it at some point. And that is Snow Falling on Cedars by David Guterson. And this is a book, obviously it's got snow on the title, so this is a book that does show up on a lot of like winter reading things just for like the atmosphere. But this is a book that has a lot of subject matter that I know very little about and I would like to learn more. But the reviews are very mixed. It's won a lot of awards, but it also has a lot of reviews saying it's very pretentious writing, it's very like purple prose when it should be dealing with heavier subject matter. I don't know. This book is taking place on an island, and it is following a Japanese-American man who is standing trial for a murder of a fisherman. And it's in 1954, so it's following World War II, and we're still kind of dealing with the aftermaths of like the Japanese internment camps and all of that. And I believe it's also following another Japanese-American reporter who is covering the trial, and I believe his relationship with the accused, and something about their one of their wives. I don't know. And I think it's just a book that I want to just go in and experience it. It portrays the psychology of a community, the ambiguities of justice, the racism that persists even between neighbors, and the necessity of individual moral action despite the indifference of nature and circumstance. So I think it's gonna be heavy, right? Like, that sounds pretty heavy, but it's also following stuff that I don't know a lot about. I feel like I've read a lot and I've learned a lot about World War II. That seems to be a very common war and time period in a lot of historical fiction and just nonfiction as well. So I feel like I know a lot about that, but I don't know much about the Japanese-American experience following World War II and how racism is still rampant. So I think this is going to be a pretty harrowing story. I'm curious to see what my thoughts are, and this is a book that I feel like I just see all the time. Like, it's a bestseller, it shows up in a lot of used bookstores, and I finally just got a copy. It just seems like a book that I should have on my shelves and I should read at some point in time. If you've read this, let me know what you think. And lastly, I've got a couple packages to open. The first one is from BookArtBookMarks, which means it's gonna be some bookmarks, which I'm so excited about. This is a company that I've repped for years, and these are my favorite bookmarks. I have an embarrassing amount of these. So these are the 3 she sent me. They're so springy and cute. So we have this adorable one that has flowers on it, and I like these long chain ones. They're so cute. I will take it out and give you guys close-ups of all of these. So this is the very first one. It has a really cute pink band, and it has these like lavender colored flowers, and this is so cute. Okay, this next one is on one of her thicker bands, and it is this beautiful, huge, like filigree designed heart, which is so perfect for the Valentine's Day season. And this is also a locket. It's so cute. I am totally going to use this on that first book that I talked about, A Lady's Formula for Love, because look how cute this is gonna look on it. And this final one is probably my favorite because y'all know how I feel about like botanical things, and this one has a real flower pressed in resin. It is so cute. This is going to be my favorite springtime bookmark that I'm going to use for so many things. Like, this is a real little flower. It's so pretty. I love it. While we're on this subject, I'm just going to show you how they work. So this is a stretchy elastic band, and you can just kind of stretch it around your book so that it holds your place in the book, and then you can shut the book. And look how cute this looks on there. Little hearts, and it's pink for Valentine's Day. This is so cute. You guys know how I feel about these bookmarks. They're my favorite. I just adore them so much. Okay, so got those. Thank you so much to Margot for sending those to me. I will leave her shop linked down below along with my rep code. I do work with her, so I can give you guys a discount if you would like to get anything like that. She has so many in her shop. I feel like this is just kind of like a variety of what she has to offer, with like the big pendant ones, the little floral ones, the like long connector ones. She also has so many like natural stone ones that I just adore. Let's get to some packages. These showed up at my P.O. box. So let's get into this. Okay, what's it gonna be? You guys are seeing it first. What is this? The Magic Fix by Mark Montanaro. Ooh, it looks fancy because there's a map on the cover that is like ripped in two, and it has like elves, humans, and pixies on this side, trolls, ogres, and goblins on this side. This is from the author Mark. He lives in the UK, and he recently had his first book published. I'd love for you to review it if you have time. Many thanks. Oh, so cool. So this obviously looks like it's going to be fantasy. So it's following a battle. The humans are fighting a losing battle with the trolls. Meanwhile, the ogres are up to something, which probably isn't good. Could one flying unicorn bring about peace in the known world? No, obviously not. There's a group of rebels and pixies and elvish. Oh my gosh, this sounds so fun. So the Magic Fix by Mark Montanaro. Montanaro. I don't know. I hope one of those was right. Thank you, Mark. Lastly, we have another package that is an Amazon package. So what? It feels like a book is sliding around in here. Let's see. What is this? Okay, this is The Last Lady, The Magpie Saga, Book 1 by Paul. Oh boy, I did fairly okay with that last name. Radajewski? Oh man, I don't know how to say that one. This looks like it's going to be another self-pub book. Is there a note in here? There is a slip. Oh rats, it's just a packing slip. There's no note. Who sent this? This is a cool cover, and the back is pretty cool. It's got like a sword with a magpie on the cover. A country about to collapse, a mind ready to crack, a chance, the slimmest glimmer. Villages are falling silent, their citizens disappearing in lakes of blood, their cattle and livestock left to rot, a flood is preparing to sweep through Gnarl. That which dies comes back, another drop in a torrent of crimson. That was a pitch and a half. Man, this sounds dark. So they're trying to end the rot? What is the rot? Is it like a plague that's sweeping a town? It sounds pretty gnarly in Gnarl, to be honest with you. So whoever sent this, thank you. This sounds amazing. This sounds heavy, to be honest. This honestly sounds like the type of book I'm in the mood for right now. So I just saw the word dwarves. Are there dwarves in this? Is this fantasy? I was thinking this is more like post-apocalyptic paranormal, but now I don't know. This looks amazing. Honestly, the formatting of this book is really cool. I like the little magpie symbol that's in the like page breaks. I like that. I also like the font. Okay, thank you, whoever sent this to me. Thank you. So that is going to conclude my book haul. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you guys in my next one.